Let's say, if I add it, existing sales order. This is the record number that there is a sales order with this number, and this is the ID of that record. Now, when you use that in the script, when you get cur recorded, it will give you this ID, that record internal ID. That is called internal ID. Now, similarly, you have this record type. Under record module, we have multiple members. You have record type here. So record type will give you what is the record type you are accessing right now. Let me show you all the list of record types. These are all the possible values of record type. These many record types are there in NetSuite. Right now, since we are working on sales order, you will see here sales order. So this is what it is going to return. So you will get the record type, anyways, when you will see that in the log, right? So record type, when you're printing in the log, you will see record type will give you the record type, what kind of record it is. And then you have this, get field will give you the field value. But since we are not using it. So we can remove that also. Just let's not even worry about it. Now let's move to the next thing, which is save record. Okay. So similar to page init, right? So page init. You understand it triggers when a page loads, right, or when a form is loading. That's when you need. You use the page init, and that's where it triggers as soon as the page is loaded, right? Similarly, save record function is the one which is executed as soon as you click on save. So when a record is saved, that's when the function triggers. Okay. So you know how do you use a save record function for let's say, if you want to provide some alerts. When I say alert, like as soon as you must have seen any website, right, when you click on save, or any form or any general day, right? It shows you a pop-up. Are you sure you want to save? Right. Yes, no button on all that. That is one alert. And if you miss some information, it shows you a pop-up. You missed, some mandatory field, and all that. Yes. Correct. So this is what you do in save record function of client script, like if you want to provide some alerts, if you want to enable certain fields which disabled something, or if you want to redirect to any other URL, for that matter. Let's say, if you save, you want to redirect that to some of the page. That's when you use a save record function. So basically anything you want to do when you save a record, will be done using save record function. Now save record function also has same parameters. So all the functions, what you have in client script will have same parameter, which is script context. It will have one object which is current record. So using current record, you got all that information. Now on that save record function. What I'm going to do is we are going to take one example at the end of all the functions. So once we talk about all the functions, I'll take one single example, which will cover all the functions. Now, next is our validate. Let's start with validate field. Okay. So validate field function is used, or it triggers or it executes when a field is changed. by a user or any other script for that matter, or any other way, right? So let's say you have a field called email. Okay, example let's say you added a sales order and you have any field for that matter. Let's say you have memo, right? So if you change anything on the field value and you have this script written on this field, which is memo, and if you change the value, that's when this validate field function will trigger, and whatever logic you have written inside that function, it will be executed. Let's say, I'm just giving an example. Let's say you have a field called email. Okay. Now some email is, let's say, already there. You edit the record and somebody tried to change the email. Okay. Now you will. Now you want to make sure that the email format is correct. I'm just giving you an example, right? That it has at the rate and com, something like that, right? So if you want to check, email format is correct, so you will write on validate field. You will see if new value what is entered is having at the rate or not, is having ... or not, and if not, then you'll throw an alert saying that this value is not valid. Okay, so that is what validate field does. So, if you want to validate field, and one example, right, if you want to restrict entry only to a certain format. Right, that is the email thing I talked about, right? If you want to restrict the values submitted in a specific range or something. So basically, any validation you want to do on a field level, that is, when you use validate field. What does it return? It returns true or false. Okay, return if the value is valid. False if it is not valid. So, in case it is not valid, if it is returning false, then you can set your alert message or anything whichever is needed, right? Now, this has also same thing, one parameter, which is called the script context. But under script context you have several other parameters. One is current record, your record snapshot. Then you have your sublist, ID, field, ID line, and column right. So from this ID, I don't think it will be used because you can use validate line for that, but you can use field ID. So basically let's say, you say field ID is, in this case, let's say, memo, right? Field ID equals to memo, and then you will check the value inside that field and then put your logic accordingly, right? So if you want to put validation and multiple fields, you will have to write logic for every single field separately. Let's say you will put one if block, like, if field ID equals to this, then your logic. If field ID equals to this, then your logic, like that, okay. Now, when she talked about validate field, we have field change. Another so validate field is to validate any field value. Okay, if you put any field, if you enter any value in any field, then you validate it against validate field using validate field, right? Now field change is used when a field value is changed and you want to do some additional task based on the new value. You're not validating the value. You're basically using a new value you want. You're making sure that this field value is changed. And then you're going to utilize that field value. I mean, you will get more understanding when I explain it with an example. So don't worry. Now let me put it in a different way. Let's say you have same field. I'll go with memo, right? So you have a field memo. Now you want to validate if the field memo length is not more than 30 characters. Okay, this is one logic. Okay, and some user asks you to make sure that memo is not more than 30 characters. So whenever you post, you see if we like equals to validate, if you like, because to memo under validate field function, you will see the field length. If it is more than 30, you will return false simple. Okay, now under field change your use case would be, if memo field value is changed, then if users. If user changes memo field value, then you change. Let's take another field. I'm just giving you an example. Okay, so if user changes memo field value, if the new value is, let's say, XYZ, then check this. Exclude commission checkbox. Okay, we have this example, okay.